So we're going to get this party started, okay? And so what we have here today, what we're talking about is scarcity and abundant mindset, okay? And so I am happy to have with me today Kate Vaness Candolph. Did I say it right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, awesome. She is the creator of Sorted State. It's a home and life organization platform where she blends professional productivity tools with real world family life to help overwhelmed parents reclaim their time and energy. Okay, drawing upon the background in scientific and analytical work, she translates workplace methods such as lean and 5S into practical, compassionate systems that makes homes easier to run and daily routines less stressful. Who don't want that, right? Okay, so through her Substack publication, podcast, and video content, Kate offers step-by-step action plans, mindset shifts, and simple experiments that support sustainable organization without perfection. All right, Kate.
That's beautifully
So,
said. Do you want to write my bio for me? I love that.
no problem. I can do that. I can do a lot of things, okay? We should never limit ourselves, okay? Because
Agreed.
that's another thing that I can put on my resume, right? My resume was like 10 pages, and I'm like, gosh, I got to figure out how to narrow this down, okay?
Hard.
All right. Yeah, right? Because you never know. You know
How
what
do you
people
fit
really
a lifetime of experience onto a page?
exactly, okay? Because we know if it's more than a page, they're not gonna read it anyway, okay? They don't have time to read that, okay? So I'm happy to have Kate here with me. Why don't you tell us what brought you to Substack, okay? And why you're here.
Yeah, so I guess so my business Sorted State is two parts, right? So I have the digital media arm, but then I have what I do most of my time, which is in person, both at home as well as small businesses, productivity and organization. So it's really, kind of like I say like, what am I about? And what I'm about is time is our most finite resource. We can't get more of it.
Right.
And what I want to give people really is time back. And I do that through systemic development of optimized processes. And I think it turns a little like people off a little bit like, well, I don't really need to have my home optimized. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I want to stress people, actually, that's not what we're striving for, right? What I'm striving for is to help you understand what is good enough and where can you automate so that you get to spend more time playing with your kids. And like, I don't want people to feel like, this is not about perfectly labeled bamboo jars. This is about like, how can you stop doing so much work at your house and start living your life?
Right? Because we have so many demands on us at work. So by the time you get home, you're exhausted. You don't even want to even prepare the meal. Okay?
Yeah.
Much less hear any back talk.
Yeah. Well, it's preparing the meal, but it's also cleaning up from the meal. And it's grocery shopping for the meal. And like, how can we take that whole process and just make it less painful?
Well, break it down for us and let us know.
Well, I will actually, through the scope of abundance mindset, I have a little bit to talk about that. But why we're here today is because I want to kind of talk to everybody about it. It's a little bit of maybe an underground topic. People talk about it sometimes, but it's this like scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset. And kind of the three like things that I want to try to work through today are that like, what is it really at its core? And like, what has caused us to have this scarcity mindset? How it impacts us at work and at home, and what we can do about it. Like real practical things, not cerebral, like just be grateful. Like what are actual steps that we can take to help us build and flex our abundance mindset muscles?
Okay. Inquiry minds want to know. Okay.
All right. So should we dig into it? Peel back the
Dig
onion?
in.
Peel back the
Yes.
onion? Like
Yes.
start stripping it apart?
That's where the real transformation is.
Yeah, it is. So scarcity mindset. Let's start at like the background of scarcity mindset. This term was coined by a Princeton psychologist. His name is, and I'm always going to say it wrong, Elder Shafir. And he really was the pioneer of writing about what the scarcity mindset is. And it kind of comes from two things. Well, first is evolutionary biology, and then the second is our own personal experiences. So we talk about like our evolution, and I don't mean, when I'm talking about evolution, I mean it from that like impacts to a population based on the fitness of individuals. So this is my biologist brain talking.
Okay.
So we have 10,000 years ago, no one was worried about their 401k. No one was worried about, how to meet their next career goals. It was things like, how do I prevent someone from stealing all the food I have? And how do I make sure that I'm warm enough to survive until tomorrow? So that scarcity mindset is really so hardwired into our DNA and biology, because the individuals who were good at it, the individuals who understood really like that resources were limited, I need to obtain and hold on to them as best as I can. Those were the individuals that survived, and they passed on that ability in both their DNA as well as in their teachings to their children. And that evolutionary biology is in such contrast to modern society. And we can't evolve fast enough to catch up to today's abundance consumer society. And
Yeah,
so,
right.
yeah, we are like a game of chess, a chessboard with pieces trying to compete in a computer video game world. And we can't, right? We don't have the tools.
The capacity.
Yeah, we don't like innately, right? So all
Right.
of this stuff that we do is our default wire is scarcity. Resources are limited. I have to obtain them and hoard them to the best of my ability. And we really have that like extreme focus on the immediate problems that we need to solve. Like humans are not good. And we know this. We're not good at understanding, how do I fix problems 5 years in the future? We can't.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Margaret, how good are you at anticipating really what's going to happen in 5 years?
I mean, I'm good, but not that good. I'm not that good. Okay, it's really hard to predict. However, sometimes we can see into the future, okay, by paying attention to our inner compass. Okay,
Yes.
your
Well,
inner
what
compass.
we
Go
can
ahead.
we can see into the future, but it's a risk assessment, right? That's what we're doing.
Yes, yes. We're doing that every day. I mean, we have to. Okay.
Yeah.
If I take this road, okay, because you look on the weather and it'll say, okay, it's an accident down that road, and you got to go that way. So what do you do instead? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Things are.
there's lots of
Go ahead.
ways that we can like think about how we assess the future. Um,
Y-
and we all also bring our individual histories into the way we think about scarcity as well. So, like at work, you may have been in a position, or someone else on this call may have been in a position where you had to compete against your coworkers for end of year bonus.
That was always the case.
Yeah.
That's why I always got up early, and that's why I always did more than everybody else. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
So
it still
that
wasn't no
cultivated.
guarantee. It
Mhm.
still wasn't no guarantee that I was going to get it, but I was going to be in a better position than anyone else because I have an A personality, and it's
Yeah.
nobody going to beat me. Okay?
Yeah.
If I
So
have to get up at 3, I'll get up at 3.
that cultivated your scarcity mindset, right? Like that was a big player in how you view scarcity.
Well, that came from my childhood. I was taught that.
Yeah.
From where I came from, you fight, you're loud, you have to be unapologetic. if you want to get anywhere in this world, okay?
Yeah.
Because you're constantly competing against everybody, and I was also competing against myself, okay? Because myself
Mhm.
would say, "Do this," and the other side of me say, "No, don't do that." So I'm constantly fighting within myself. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I? So when you get
Yeah.
tired, I'm just like Nike. I just do it. Just like, okay, which decision? You can't keep being indecisive. You have to make a decision and roll with it. Just like
Yeah.
that flow chart. Okay, when you get to that end of that road, you're gonna have to go left or right. You can't go straight, and it's no going back either. I'm not going back. So you got to make a quick decision.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? Like it's hard to know what the outcomes are going to be. And I think there's also that there's so many elements that go into the way that we think about this scarcity of resources too. Like people have experienced, and I was one of them. During COVID, there was an infant formula shortage. And like that those things that happen to you really determine how you're going to react to certain situations and certain stimuli.
You are so right. But what I try to do before I act is to take a deep breath because I am impulsive.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I don't take that breath, Mel Robbins said 5 seconds, right? That can be the decision between life and death. But if you make the wrong decision
Yeah.
based on emotions, don't
Yeah.
make decisions based on emotions. Wait until you've calmed down, came to reason, and then decide. Right?
Yeah, well, and that's a big part of this idea of scarcity mindset, right? Is that it's fear driven. So you're afraid that a resource is limited, and then you have this anxiety induced desire to obtain that resource, and then you kind of tunnel in on this, and it becomes impulsive, right? Like it really colors the way that you view the decision you're making, and it becomes entirely emotional.
True. So that's why it's best before you take that step. Why am I doing this?
Hmm.
What is it going to serve? What are the ramifications of this decision?
Yeah.
I'll go all the way down the rabbit hole, and sometimes you still can't decide.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I will say there's part of that too, which is again like when you're stuck in this scarcity mindset loop, you have such a mental bandwidth tax. There's so much decision fatigue that you're going through on a daily basis to try to overcome these emotional situations. It's like if you are on a diet and you have had a day of taxing meetings and you're finally out to dinner with your spouse or partner or friends, are you going to say no to the dessert menu? No.
No. I'm gonna ask for
Hey,
that first. I'm gonna ask for that first.
yeah. And it's that like there's no fuel gauge in our brain that tells us how much we have in reserve, right? There's nothing that is indicating to us, here's how many decisions I can make today. Here's how many times I can overcome the emotion associated with a decision and not stay in my logical brain. There's nothing that helps us understand, here's where I'm going to hit my limit. And I better not make any decisions after that. So that's a big part of how we approach scarcity is we don't have a good feeling for ourselves about where we're going to hit that, where we're going to hit empty,
Well,
and how can we know?
we might already be on empty and don't even realize it
Yeah.
until something happens, some type of physical, mental, emotional breakdown. And then we say, damn, I stretched myself to over the limit, you
Yeah.
know, because we think that we Superman or Superwoman and we can do all of that, but we're not. We're fallible. We're not. We have to
Yeah.
face the facts. We have to look in the mirror and say, no, I can't.
Yeah.
You have to have those boundaries.
And then, when we also think about what scarcity does to us mentally, it also really causes us to become risk averse. And we'll miss a lot of opportunities because of that risk aversion or that loss aversion that I talked about earlier, right? Whereas, 10,000 years ago, we couldn't we might not survive if a predator took away a resource that we were looking for, right? So like you kill a deer and then a lion comes along and takes that deer from you, you might die. But that loss aversion is still with us. It's still in our hearts. And so how do we translate that into things like if I need X, Y, and Z to feel like a successful person, I can't risk, doing a career move that might pay me less money, but I might be much more fulfilled, or starting my own company, because we have such that loss aversion has translated into like performative societal purchases. I need to have this car or these bags or this type of home to feel like I'm successful. And I can't risk that being taken away
And the thing of it is that you mentioned it, when we die, we leave this world with nothing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. But it's again, it's that like, it's the loss aversion that's so hardwired into our psyche from 10,000 years of evolution. What are the ways that we can remind ourselves that that taking risks in today's society is not the same thing as it was 10,000 years ago, right? Like you can leave your kill on the savannah and walk away and a predator's not going to come steal
Now or then?
that. Now.
I don't know. That's debatable. It depends on where you live.
That's true.
So, yeah, all these things that you're talking about, it still ties back to our childhood, okay? Because my parents were, say, born in the 1920s, okay? I know you and I had this conversation. So money was tight. There was really not a lot of money, okay?
Mhm.
And so if you got some money, then you wanted to get all of these things in reserve, like canned goods and all this stuff. Because I remember when Y2K and when the grid went out, you couldn't even use a credit card. You couldn't go to the store and buy water or nothing. All the shelves were empty. Okay? And you couldn't get your money out the bank. You were SOL if you didn't have cash. Okay? So my parents' mentality was, we're gonna stock up on all this stuff. So if something happened, we have everything that we need. And
Yeah.
I did the same thing. So like during COVID, okay, uh, I like Scott tissue. Okay, so
Me
damn,
too. Me too.
oh, 1,000 sheets of roll. Okay, so they didn't sell it in Israel, and they had cottonelle. I don't use that. I called my daughter. I like, you send me over here some whatever that toilet tissue I told you. Anyway, she Amazon was like charging 3 or 4 times. They was gouging people. Okay,
Yep.
for toilet tissue, everything. They was gouging people. I said, I don't
Yep.
care how much it costs. You send me that Scott tissue over here. Okay, I still have a few rolls of that left. She sent me one for 75. Okay, that's why I love Costco and Sam's Club. I get a 75 roll. That would last me a year. Okay, I don't have to buy no more toilet tissue. But me and you had a conversation, and you felt the opposite. Okay,
Yeah, I
I'm from
do.
I'm from Generation Jones, and you, I don't know, XY or whatever. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this kind of then goes into that, like, how do we combat our scarcity mindset, like personal? And
Okay.
I would say I have like 3 practical ways that people can do this. And the first is, it's like, okay, everyone talks about practice gratitude. Yes, write down things you're grateful for. And I do think it's an excellent practice. But I do think it's not a great way to talk about thinking through scarcity mindset, because and maybe this is just me. I have a very objective mind. Like I like things to be objective. So finances is a big one for people. People feel like I'm really scared of the future. I don't know what will happen. So I need to hoard my resources, and I have to say yes to this job. I have to work extra hours. I can't risk not getting this promotion. And for me, what I've taken to do as a practice is, whenever I start to feel the anxiety, right? The anxiety of finances, I sit down and I'll write out 6 months of the worst possible outcomes, right? I need to get my car repaired. I have an unexpected home fix. I have a health emergency, and I write down the worst possible 6 months that could happen and how much it's going to cost, hypothetically. And then from there, I will sort of develop my own little risk assessment. What's the likelihood of this happening? What is the chances that this is going to occur? And, some things are like, a car fix could be 25% chance. Like I have an older Hyundai. But like a health emergency, not very likely to happen. So kind of like, what is my risk assessment? And just writing it out helps me reset in my brain where the true scarcity is and where is just my perception that things are scarce. Inventory, that's the one we just talked about. I practice a just-in-time inventory control. And the best way I can explain this is in my pantry, right? So you go to the grocery store and you see pasta, 10 for 10. And you're like, pasta, it's 10 for 10. I'm always going to use pasta. And you put 10 of them in your cart, right? But that mindset of scarcity and feeling like this resource is limited, my chance to get in on this sale is limited. First of all, it's happening like every 3 months. You're not going to use 10 boxes of pasta. Well, you might in 3 months, but that idea of how much do we need to spend time mentally managing our inventory? It's actually quite a lot. If you have to be like always thinking about how many more rolls of toilet paper do I have before I run out, like that.
Don't worry about it.
That process of thinking does take mental bandwidth from you. And so what I try to encourage my clients to do, what I do for myself is I shop I go to the shop every week. I know I'm going to the shop and I plan around that week and I write out my meals loosely, right? I'm not writing recipes, but I'll say, this is what I intend to make for the week. And I look at my pantry and I see what I have on hand. And then I just build a grocery list. Most people, when you come to my house, you open my fridge and you're like, wait, this is all the food you have? And I'm like, no, I have enough to make 7 nights of meals. Like that's all I need to have on hand for me and my family. Having extra just means things go bad. You end up throwing more food away. And you're not shopping with intentionality at the store. You're sort of letting the store dictate how you're going to shop, which is really dangerous, right? You get caught up in those end caps. You get caught up in like some special that you would never ordinarily buy and you don't have a plan for.
That's why I don't go to the store hungry, because I always, okay?
Yeah. Well, and I will also say, going to the store hungry is your scarcity mindset of your stomach overriding the logical part of your brain. Your stomach is saying, I'm hungry, therefore food must be a limited resource. Like, that's just hardwired. And then when you're at the store and your body is telling you food is a limited resource, you need to obtain as much as possible. It's not just your immediate hunger that's driving. It's also that psychological hunger of, I don't know when I'm going to have food again. So I need to make sure I stock up.
Well, all these things are playing in the background. We just going along with it.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And then, time is our biggest resource, biggest, most limited resource that we all struggle with. And so I would say that my way of sort of combating the scarcity mindset of time is I do backwards planning. It's kind of become a little more popular. I've done it for a long time. I look at everything from just things like, when do I need my dishwasher to be finished washing, all the way to like, if I have a goal of wanting to accomplish, let's say 3 more productivity clients by the end of January, everything I do, I look at, if this is my goal or this is the outcome I need, how do I track back my time and how do I line my calendar? And then it's very easy for me to look at, do I have enough time to meet this goal and not feel panicked along the way? Because that's a big part of like, if I believe X is true, what needs to be true in addition to that? And it kind of helps me check my biases of myself. Like I don't have enough time to write a book. Well, if my goal is to write a book, when do I have to have the first draft written by? When do I need to have it accepted by a publisher. Like, just track that back, and then that will tell you, like, do you actually have enough time? Let's be realistic about this and not just believe in the scarcity mindset at work.
I love that. Now at work, uh, what you're talking about is systems thinking, and that's something I do very well. Okay, I'm really good at that. Once I get the hang of something, boom, you know. But it's a lot of things that you don't have control over. So that impacts your time.
Yes,
That impacts your mental and emotional well being as well. So
it does. But I think part of the abundance mindset is you sort of can rationally think, like, anytime my boss comes to me, this is so, like, I've worked in corporate worlds, I've worked in academic world. Anytime your boss comes to you and they're like, I need you to do this by Friday, I my first, and this is terrible, I ignore that request. I just ignore it. And part of this is like a little bit of my understanding also of like how corporate world actually works. I will wait for the second ask of anything, because if you ask me twice, you probably mean it. And then I will ask you to prioritize this in an impact effort matrix. And I will show you, here's all the things I have on my impact effort matrix. It's called an Eisenhower matrix for anyone who hasn't used one before. I have all of my active projects always on one of these. And I will ask them to put it on here. And I will help them determine how much effort it's going to take. And they put it on the impact matrix. And like probably 50% of the time, they're like, you know what, actually, it's not that important. Don't do it. And so,
wow, that's great. I could never say that. You go, girl.
I am also a little bit fearless. Just
God, we have to be,
yeah,
especially
well,
nowadays.
it's also that abundance mindset that I have of like, and I know that times are changing, right? I don't want to belittle anyone's experience with looking for a job right now, because I know that things right now are a little bit
They
wonky
are.
donkey.
They
But
are.
I would say that, like, historically for me, I've always been able to tell myself, you know what? They make new jobs every day. This job doesn't work out, I'll just go find another one. And that abundance mindset about the ability for me to gain employment has always kept me from feeling like I had to be anyone's lackey. From made me feel like I'm selling you my time and you're giving me money. And that is the contract that we are in. And if I feel like you are not giving me sufficient money for my time or respect for my time, then I don't have to stay here, because I am not afraid of the gaps in employment. I'm not afraid of making do with beans and rice for 3 months, right? And that's the abundance mindset at play, right? Like, how do I think about my life as something that is so rich and wonderful? And like, even in moments of like terrifying situations of not having a job or not being sure where I'm going to live in a few months, like, even in those moments, feeling like I'm so lucky and I have so much opportunity around me. And like, even if I have to go get a job bagging groceries for a few weeks to make ends meet, that's fine. Like, I'm not too proud. And I've done crazy jobs. Like, I've mowed lawns. I've worked at West Elm. Like, it's you just that belief that there's so much opportunity out here. There's so much space in the world for everyone. Feeling like the pie is not a limited resource that we have to make ever increasingly small slices of. We just make a bigger pie. And actually, it's an interesting time that we're in too, because abundance mindset at the federal, like the government level, has kind of taken off. Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson wrote a book this past year about abundance at the the government level, and like how we need to think about an abundance mindset as a society is really awesome.
Since you talked about the government, I worked for the government for
I know.
39 years. So I always had the abundant mindset when I went to work for them because I knew what my potential was. I knew that nobody could touch me at work. Okay. They just couldn't. So I never worried about that. And it's one of the reasons why I moved 8 times because I wasn't going to settle for what you was going to, the crumbs that you were trying to give me. I felt I was way better than that. Okay. Even though I was never able to break through the glass ceiling. Okay. It is what it is. I still get a comparable retirement regardless. And it's nothing preventing me from going higher in my business. Okay. So you stopped me here, but I'm here and I'm on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
Okay. Like so I went from a GS 4 temporary all the way up to a GS 12, making $130,000 a year, starting off at $12,000. I think I did really well considering. But if I had stayed in the place where I grew up, I wouldn't have never amounted to where I am today. Okay. You have to be willing to move. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable to get to where you want to go. Because how else you going to get it? Not unless you
Yeah.
were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Okay. That's different. But per people like me, we had to work hard, 10 times harder than anybody else. And still you fell short. But I still made it anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like what you said. Now, as far as with the scarcity mindset, I would say that was based on relationships. I didn't take much stock in that because of the abusive childhood that I came from. I always never felt good enough. Okay, because
Mm.
that's what I was always told, and I was always told, okay, you're gonna be crazy like your mother. Okay, all
Oh.
right. Oh, by my father, and my father was a narcissist. So okay, so so I never put any stock in relationships. That's why I put all of my efforts into my career, something that was going to sustain me
Mhm.
once I retired. Okay.
And do you feel like it's because it was something you always had, you could control? You were in control.
Yes, I am a control freak. I'm not going to lie because all my life I never had control over anything and always had to fulfill other people's expectations. Okay. So yes, here we are today. Okay. So now I'm trying to reconcile and bring all these things together. Okay. And so I can maintain this abundant mindset
Abundance mindset.
with my business. Okay. Because a lot of things is going to go to crap. But what lesson did I learn from that? And from all the lessons that I've learned up to this point has brought me to where I am in business. And what was that? Marshall Goldsmith said, what brought you, whatever got you there won't necessarily get you here. Something
Yep.
like that. And that's the same thing. Okay. What's working now, it might not work 2 weeks from now
So
or a
true.
month from now. Okay. So we have to adjust.
Yeah.
What
But
what adjustments do I have to make?
and as you think through, like, the abundance mindset is going to tell you all of the skills that you have amassed are going to help you in the future, right? So, like, even if you don't know what that future looks like, you're not sure how you're going to navigate it. The abundance mindset says, I have so many skills that I can deploy in the unknown.
Now, I'm gonna tell you what does help us in uncertainty is to stay true to who we are, to our
Mm-hmm.
truth, and our values.
Yeah.
When you stay in alignment with that, I don't give a damn what's going on. You're gonna stay the path, and you're gonna know within you that that's not the right place or right person or whatever
Mhm.
for you. Okay,
Yeah. We
so
just have to
that
be
does help.
careful. We have to be careful, though, that even if we're staying our course, that we are not driven to make decisions based on fear. Because that is always a big, like, you can be like, I am going to stay true to who I am, but I'm going to make this decision based on, like, the fear emotion, especially the fear with limited resources that can make our thinking so much smaller, right? Like, if we're afraid of losing, if we're afraid of the risk, the decisions that we make are so much more narrow, and they might still be true to who we are, but they might not be the the most that we can be.
True. What I see it is like being a thrill seeker, for example. You know, I have a choice. I can sit on this stump here and I can just watch the world pass me by and not accomplish anything. Or I can go out there and see what I can create and see what I can do. That is exhilarating. Think about it. Okay? Having the opportunity to fly in the C-130, okay, and to ride in
That's all you not me.
helicopters,
I don't need that.
okay.
I don't need
So
that.
I'm just saying it's exhilarating to be able to sit back and say I've experienced all of these things that if I hadn't stepped out there,
Mhm.
okay, took a leap of faith, I wouldn't have never known. I would still be sitting on Chicago Street or whatever, and wondering,
Yeah.
twiddling my thumbs. You know what I'm saying?
That's a perfect example of abundance mindset, right? Like that
Exactly.
belief that there is so much opportunity. There's so many chances I can take to help me in my life, to help my career, to help my growth, to help me as a person become a better leader, to become a better friend, a better mentor. So much experience dictates how we respond to situations in the world.
But sometimes it takes an act of nature to happen for us to take that first step. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I hadn't have walked away from my job, okay, I would have just been happy just writing an article or whatever, not taking the steps to actually put my business into place
Mhm.
because I'm comfortable in this rut. This is
Mhm.
something that I know, and if I just stay this path, I'll be fine
Yeah.
until it wasn't. Okay? Until it wasn't. And then I had to take action. I'm like, okay, I'm not, I don't know how long, it's going to take for me to get my pension, my social security, and all of this stuff. So I better start taking some action and putting things in place. See what I'm saying? It lit a
Mhm.
fire under me once something like that happened. But we don't necessarily want to wait to that point where we have
True.
to make a decision.
Yeah.
It's better to make the decision with like you said, on a position of strength versus one of weakness. Because then I'm at a disadvantage. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah.
100%. And it's one of those things that like we have to remember that I feel like there's so many like those gurus out there who will tell you just do these things and you'll have an abundant mindset, or do these things and you'll be physically fit and happy for the rest of your life. And like I think we have to remember that our biology is not hardwired that way. And so like every time you practice having an abundant mindset, every time you do one of these things, you are fighting against your evolutionary biology. And like you have to give yourself grace and forgive yourself when you do make a decision based on fear, or when, like you said, like when you have to make a reactive decision instead of a proactive one, like that's also okay. Like we can't, like those moments happen to all of us and it's totally fine. That is normal, natural experiences across all of humanity. And that we are so lucky today that we can have an abundance mindset. And I don't, I think that kind of sounds almost a little bit like toxic positivity. And I don't want it to be that. Like, I don't want to be that person who's like, just be so grateful for what you have and never complain, because like, that's also terrible, right? Don't do that. Life is hard. Life is hard. But
Grateful, but I still complain. I
yeah,
still will say,
me,
yeah, you have to get it out. You know.
me too. But it's that I also like, I recognize how amazing it is that we live here and now. That if there is very few situations where I will actually be in crisis or in a moment of like, oh my God, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to keep us warm? Like those situations are few and far between and they make the news. And it's we're so lucky. We are so lucky to be alive in a world where toilet paper, the Scott toilet paper that you want in Israel can get to you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I just bought a new 75 roll, not 12, 75. And the problem with this is now I'm going back cleaning out all my closets, and uh space has become an issue. When you buy all of these things, you have less
Yeah.
space. And it does, and it wears on you. It causes anxiety and
Hmm.
stress when you have all this excess stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. It's a huge amount of like bandwidth on your brain to manage it. You become a manager of the things in your house instead of just enjoying them.
Yes. I find that less is better. Okay, especially now that I'm older, when I see all of these mansions and all these other things, and I'm like, I have a 5-bedroom house that I had to buy, okay, to live, to move to Anchorage, to be where I wanted to be. I wanted to be within 10 minutes of the base where I had to work because
Hmm.
it's very slippery here. And if you get out there in Eagle River or wherever, and if something happens, it's an accident on that highway, you're stuck on that highway, okay?
Hmm.
You can't get off of it. Okay, in a certain space, you can't get off of it. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with that because I don't like to drive. So what was my point I was trying to make? Oh yeah,
You're
so I
fine
bought
to
this five,
five
the
bedroom
five,
house.
and it's weighing on me, and I didn't want it. Okay, I've
Yeah.
had some people come to me say they want to rent, but then they don't fill out the security information. I'm not going to rent to you without you giving me a clearance. Okay, that your finances is good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'd rather just keep it empty, but it's causing me a lot of anxiety with this with all this space I don't need.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's hard. And a lot of people,
Yes.
that's, I think this is something I feel very passionate about, right? Is how often do we make purchases based on the performative nature or the visuals of having made that purchase? And how often are we overbuying or buying things we don't need because we want everyone to see us a certain way? And it's now more than ever, right? Our lives are online, they're very visible. And you buy something that you think is going to make you look good to other people more than what you actually need, or how, like, I mean, we just bought a new house and it's the biggest house I've ever owned. And it's 1,700 square feet, which I think most people would be like, oh, you live in a small house. And I'm like, this house is huge compared to what I'm used to. I'm coming from 750. So like, this is
Wow.
massive. I don't even know what
Okay.
to do with all this. It's like it, and I think it's a little bit of like, I'm not on social media. I'm on Substack now and LinkedIn. But other than that, I stopped following anybody on social media about 5 years ago because it was giving me so much purchasing and performance anxiety of like my vacations, my purchases, my home, my wardrobe, my restaurants, like all of that felt like it was a show, and it was so stressful for me. I felt like I never had enough, and I was never. And that is a big part of like who I am now. Is I truly believe in like flexing my abundance mindset muscle, my refusal to perform for the sake of performance, my idea that like function is more important than form, and that I just don't need so much stuff. I don't need it.
I'm learning all this now because I was of the mindset that okay, my parents was frugal or whatever. And so if I want something, I'm gonna get it. I was like instant gratification because I had to go without a lot of different things and all the things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna treat myself. But that can cause a problem too. Okay? If we're not careful, we can run ourselves into the ground with that and leave us financially bankrupt in a lot of different
Unemotionally.
ways.
Unemotionally. Like it doesn't help us.
Yes.
It doesn't actually help us deal with the trauma from our childhood.
No, it doesn't. It's just it's like a band-aid. Just rip it off.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Uh I don't know what to say about that. Because we're all trying to get through something. If it's not for our childhood, it's something that we're dealing with now. So it's
Yeah.
like we just have to breathe, okay? And so growing up in the Baptist church, gratitude was something that got me through all of these difficult times. Okay. If it wasn't for gratitude, I wouldn't be here today. For real. Things was really bad. So we have to have that, even then, we still have to have that abundance mindset because otherwise we're defeated and we're just going to continue. It's like quicksand,
It's a
you
spiral.
know?
It's a doom spiral of like it just that fear and anxiety and the like reaction to it just brings us right down.
Yeah. And we're paralyzed. It's called analysis paralysis. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's horrible. So I try to stay positive. Staying positive helps with the abundant mindset. Okay.
hmm
You can't have an abundant mindset being negative. Okay.
I don't know. I do. I'm very negative, and I still have an abundance mind.
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
I don't think they dictate each other. You
okay.
can
Talk
you
to
can
me about that.
well you can even hear by my like when I start feeling the anxiety about the scarcity of financial resources. I do a
Okay.
plan that I list out the worst possible
Oh,
outcomes.
yeah. You said
Right?
that.
Like
Right.
that's how I can cope with this feeling of financial scarcity is like by actually writing out, here's the worst thing that could happen. Okay. And then my logical
Right.
brain kicks in. What is the chance of that happening? And if it does happen, here's what I'm going to do to deal with it. Because in my mind, having a plan for the worst possible outcome is how I can have an abundant mindset. And I think that's like it's a way of saying like you don't have to be positive about everything. Positivity is great, and I love people who are super positive and optimistic. I am not. I am a natural
Okay.
pessimist, but it doesn't mean that we can't also feel like we have an abundant mindset.
Yeah, because in situations and when I'm dealing with certain conflicts, I will do pros and cons and try to say, well, like, because we know for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I'll try to figure out, okay, if I do this, then this might happen. Okay, if I don't do this, then this will happen. So I do try to determine that, but even then, you still can't always get it right.
No, no.
And I also have a tendency to overthink, which it can be like self
You? I never
sabotage.
overthink.
Well, I'm being honest. So yeah, so the thing of it is I try to stop procrastinating as much because the more we procrastinate, the worse the situation gets. It don't work itself out.
Yeah, that's your
Procrastinating.
analysis paralysis right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have to take some action, even if it's wrong. Throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. If it didn't, okay, what can I do
Yeah,
instead?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, and that's a big part of like my lean training, right? Is continuous improvement and kaizens, and the whole mantra behind them is like if you make a change and it turns out to be the wrong change, it's okay to go back. You course correct. And that's how you continue to make good improvements over time. Is if you try to do some dramatic change that like it's risky, right? And you could bounce back and go the other direction. But like by constantly evaluating and making small changes in the right direction, that's how you actually have sustained improvement over time. And
Yeah,
it's kind of again in this like, if you wait so long, then you make a drastic change or a drastic decision that has a lot more implications that you can't necessarily have balanced out in your head. You sometimes then like swing wildly like a pendulum. And it's better to make these small, sustained changes over time in a very thoughtful way and not get so afraid of making change that you wait until it's too late.
I agree. Small iterative steps is much better and it helps to you gain momentum and it also builds your confidence.
hmm
And so I totally agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't like to make drastic changes. 'Cause then what happens if you have to come back and then revert back? It's harder. Okay.
hmm
Whereas you're taking a small step, it's easy to make
Think it.
changes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. This has been amazing. conversation. I want to see if anybody has any comments or questions for us today. I try to always be thinking about this. Like I say, I'm not very good as far as with personal relationships, but nevertheless, as far as teamwork and I'm good with that, helping to develop people. I've done it my whole career, so I just try to focus on things that I'm good at, and the things that I'm not good at, I try to take baby steps towards it.
That's all anyone can do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, small steps are better than big steps, and you're like, whoa, okay. Because those big steps you take and you fail, it's harder to recover from emotionally and mentally. Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause a lot of times you
Yeah.
feel like, if I couldn't do it, why should I do anything at all?
And we can't give up like that. And as long as we have the breath in our bodies, we still have to keep moving forward. I don't care how difficult it is or how much egg we end up in our face. Okay? Get up off that floor, dust yourself off, and keep moving. Okay?
Yeah.
We all make mistakes. If you only person don't make a mistake, they either dead or not born yet. Okay? That's how we learn. That's how we grow.
Mhm.
Okay? Such is life. Okay. There it is. Does anybody have any questions? I don't think nobody has any questions. Do you have any other comments or anything you would like to share?
No, I mean, I hope that everyone who joined us today, I'm so grateful for everyone who joined us today. First of all, thank you so much for giving us, an hour of your time today. Time is a limited resource, so I appreciate everybody who came to listen. And as we approach the holidays, just remember that, like, you are enough. What you have is enough. Don't feel the anxiety of performance and, like, feeling like you need to buy everyone a gift that needs to be so perfect, because trust me, it's not going to make them like you more. It's not going to make you like yourself more. Gift giving is important, but gifts don't have to be performative. Just giving your time, giving your love, giving your energy is often more than enough. And
That's a
holidays
gift.
are here, not here.
That's a gift in itself. Okay. So gift giving is over for me. So it's like I'll just send my daughter some money and just call it a day. Okay. And there it is. Would like for you all to have a wonderful holiday. And thank you all for attending today. And as soon as this is uploaded, I will make sure that to send it out. Thank you so much, Kate. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, and I really appreciate you. And I'm glad to see that you're back in the U.S.
We made it. Back from
Yeah.
Australia. Crazy
All
time.
right. Okay. There it is. Thank you
Thanks,
all very
Margaret.
much. Thank you. All right.
Bye,
And bye bye.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.